Hello, and thank you for joining us on Classic Vinyl Podcast. This is the podcast where we listen to and review songs and albums from the classic vinyl era of the 60s and 70s. I am one of your hosts, Justin, and I'm, of course, joined by the guy that's always giving himself some positive vibrations, my co-host, Tyler.
In the night.
In the night.
When you roam with the one you call your own.
And, of course, we're referring to today's song, which is 10 Years After and Positive Vibrations. And I know at the first of our season 4, we did say we'd be doing a few more deep cuts. This is kind of a deep cut, I would say. This one was suggested to us by Trent from Goodyear, Arizona. He liked our 10 Years After Space and Time episode that we did a few years back. But he wanted us to choose a song, but he said he liked Positive Vibrations, so I chose that one. So why don't we get into a little history about 10 Years After the band first. They are a band formed in Nottingham, England in 1966. They actually evolved from a band that was named the Jaybirds, and then they changed their name to Jay and the J-Cats, and then eventually changed their name to 10 Years After once they relocated to London, and it's apparently a reference to Elvis Presley's breakthrough that had happened approximately 10 years before.
Okay. I'm surprised that the name Robin Hood didn't go through there or something, and the Merry Men or being from Nottingham.
It may have. It just may not have made the list. But the band, as it's well known, was Alvin Lee on guitar and lead vocals, Leon Lyons on bass, Rick Lee on drums, and Chick Churchill on keyboards. I mean, the band's really well known for their intense blues playing. I mean, they're kind of a jam band, really, when it comes down to it. And this song, really, when we get into it, is kind of a departure from that. But they played a lot at the Marquee Club in London, and they signed with Darum Records, which was a subsidiary of Decca Records. After they had a huge buzz going for them in London, they were creating quite a bit of noise there. But all in all, the band has sold an estimated 15 million albums worldwide, which really isn't too bad, honestly. But they are considered kind of a second-tier band if you want to compare them to giants like Led Zeppelin or The Who in the late 60s, early 70s, or even Grand Funk Railroad. These guys, they were well known, but they were a second-tier rock band, let's be honest. They weren't commercially as successful as those bands, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that they were really just a jam band. But they were one of the most successful British blues rock exports of the 1960s and 70s. So, I mean, they did still have quite a bit of success. And I think the one thing that needs to be said is Alvin Lee, number one, is an amazing guitar player. He's a pretty darn good writer. Not a bad singer. I wouldn't say he sticks out as being the best singer in the world, but he's perfect for this band without a doubt.
Oh, for sure.
But I think people that are really, truly into guitar, know who Alvin Lee is and respect what he's done. But all in all, they've released 12 studio albums, 7 live albums, 1 EP, 15 compilation albums, 3 box sets, and 15 singles. So in the U.S., they had 8 albums in the top 100 and 4 in the top 40. They didn't have any albums in the top 10. Their top charting album was actually Cricklewood Green, which is a pretty decent album. It was from 1970. It hit number 14. And A Space in Time from 1971, which I think most people consider that their most famous album, has I'd Love to Change the World on it, which is undoubtedly their most famous song. It hit number 17. In the UK, they did have 6 albums in the top 100 and 2 in the top 40. And 1 inside the top 10. And that album that made the top 10 was Cricklewood Green again, hit number 4. You had What, which was from 1970, hit number 11. And A Space in Time did not chart in the top 40 there. Now in Canada, they had 6 albums in the top 100, 3 in the top 40. So they did have A Space in Time actually was their best charting album there, which did hit inside the top 10 at number 9. So this is a band that they did really well in Canada and United States, but they also had very large success in Germany, the Netherlands, and Japan for some reason. They were very popular on the UK's festival circuit. And the one thing that made them really popular, probably brought this band most of their exposure, was they were part of the Woodstock Festival in 1969. And I think that's where a lot of people probably heard them for the first time, at least outside of the UK. So as far as singles are concerned, in the US, they had 3 top 100 singles, just 1 top 40 single, no top 10 singles. Now, their top charting song was I'd Love to Change the World at number 40. And the closest song to that was number 98, Love Like a Man. So they didn't have very good single success in the US. Now, in the UK, kind of the same thing. They had 4 songs in the top 100, 2 in the top 40. They did have 1 that reached the top 10, and that actually was Love Like a Man, hit number 10. And I'd Love to Change the World in the UK only hit number 45. Now in Canada, similar success, 4 in the top 100, 2 in the top 40, nothing in the top 10 there. I Love to Change the World was their top charting there at number 26. Love Like a Man really kind of, if you go back, even though I'm saying I'd Love to Change the World has been their most popular and most recognizable song. I mean, if you look at any of the streaming services nowadays, it's by far, it gets more listens than everything else they've released combined. But Love Like a Man was kind of the biggest hit really worldwide. And that's probably a song we ought to do on here at some point in time anyways. But okay, so this group's had a long history. Their original run was from 1966 to 1974, and that, of course, is with Alvin Lee when the band broke up. They did have a short reunion in 1983 without Alvin Lee. Then they had a reunion from 88 to 2003 with Alvin Lee, and then they've been together ever since without Alvin Lee. And, of course, Alvin Lee did die in March of 2013 from surgical complications. This is a band that hasn't made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and not that it really matters, and I don't believe they ever will, but I think they're definitely most popular for their performance at Woodstock, especially their song, I'm Going Home. It's a really long jam session of a song, and so Alvin Lee has long been considered one of the most proficient guitarists of all time, especially to come out of the 60s. And I think any serious guitar player knows that, but I don't think he's a name that's known to the general public. I don't think 10 Years After is a band that's known to the general public for the most part, but I mean, they definitely influenced a lot of people when you get into that blues rock and hard rock guitarists and things like that. I think this is a band that helped cement some of that legacy. Alvin Lee also had a fairly decent solo career. Leo Lyons, who was with the band, he became a producer. He worked with bands like UFO and other rock bands in the 70s and 80s, and I think this band is still quite respected by a lot of people that know, but I think they're another one of those bands that just kind of faded out of history in a way. It's unfortunate, but they've got a lot of good albums that are worth listening to. This is an album band, in my opinion, but what's kind of interesting about these guys is they're a much better band live than they are on tape. Do you want to get to the song?
I do.
And now it's time for the song review.
Okay, so Trenton Goodyear, Arizona wanted us to do Positive Vibrations by 10 Years After. So before we go into the history of this song, Tyler, what is your history with the song?
My history with this song goes back approximately 5 minutes yet again.
Yeah, so we listened to it twice. Yeah. So you've heard this song twice now.
Yeah, twice. And so the band itself, my experience with it is one of our early episodes about A Space in Time. Specifically that I'd Love to Change the World. That's the most noteworthy song I remember.
Yeah, and that was back in season 1.
Yeah.
So, which I think is an excellent album, but it's another one of those things that besides I'd Love to Change the World just isn't commercially popular at all.
No.
But that song still gets a lot of radio airplay, and you'll hear it a little bit on TV and commercials and movies and things like that. But Positive Vibrations. So it was released on July 14th of 1974 in the U.S. In the U.S., it was released on Columbia Records, and it wasn't released until August 13th of 1974 in the U.K. on Chrysalis Records. So the B-side in the U.S. was a song called Look Me Straight Into the Eyes, and in the U.K. it was a song called Nowhere to Run. And the song is from an album called Positive Vibrations. Imagine that.
Okay.
So it's the title song of that album. The album itself reached number 81 on the U.S. Billboard charts, but it did not chart in the U.K. It did reach number 89 in Canada. So not a super popular album, but not bad. The estimated sales on this album, I think I was reading, are somewhere around 500,000. I mean, I wish I could sell 500,000 of anything, but as far as popular albums go, that's not huge. The album's not certified gold or platinum or anything by the RIAA. The album marked the band's final studio release before they broke up. It features probably, out of all their albums, the most polished studio production style, I would say. It just seems more polished than any of their earlier stuff. This song is written by Alvin Lee, lead vocals by Alvin Lee. And here's the band as they appeared on this song. Obviously, Alvin Lee on guitar and vocals, Leo Lyons on bass, Chick Churchill on keyboards, and Rick Lee on drums. Most popular lineup of this band. It was recorded in 1974 at Spaceward Studios in Cambridge, England, produced by Chris Kimsey. Now, Chris Kimsey's worked with a lot of famous bands. The Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, a bunch of others. And this song is kind of interesting because it's really a departure if you know 10 years after it all, but it's a departure from their other songs. It's got a lot of layered rhythm guitars, and it's kind of got a melodic hook to it. And it really is, with the production and everything, it's more of a commercial sound than what you're used to hearing from like other extended blues jams and things. It's really different for me, especially because going to the albums before this, I really enjoy it. This album, I didn't quite enjoy as much of the rest. It just seems it's produced better, but that's not always a great thing, right? So the song runs a little over 4 minutes long, and the song's doesn't have a ton of lyrics. It's pretty easy to figure out what it's about. And Tyler's going to tell us all what it's about because he's the lyric guy. But
and I did pay attention to the lyrics this time.
Well, I figured you would. But I mean, it's really reflecting, it's a mid-70s thing you got going. It's a lot of optimism and personal uplift. And it's really a contrast to what Alvin Lee had written before, especially his late 60s stuff. But I think it's just kind of this band trying to evolve with everybody else and what they're doing. And I kind of think this was the wrong way to go, but that's just my opinion of what I know of the band. Because the band was really, their popularity, the little popularity they had compared to some of those other bands was certainly declining at this time, and this being their last album, obviously. The single itself did not chart in the US, did not chart in the UK, and guess what? Did not chart in Canada. So when we talk about doing deep cuts, this essentially is what you would call a deep cut.
Yeah.
Because it's not a popular song by any means.
Do you think that was a last-ditch effort on the band's part to try and find some fame and fortune?
I mean, it probably was in a certain way, but you also had the production values of things in the early to mid 70s changing drastically. And I think it was kind of the old blues or hard rock blues jam thing was kind of old hat at the time. And I think they're just trying to find something else. So maybe not a last ditch effort, but definitely an effort in one way to find a new sound and try and gain some popularity, because you can be whatever you want to be, but if you're not popular or not selling records, you can't make more records.
That's true.
And it's kind of hard to live without money too. So this isn't a very popular song by any means. It's not certified by the RIAA or anything like that. The single didn't sell well. It didn't even chart. There's a lot of live versions of this in a lot of their later reunion performances and things like that, but this isn't a major staple of the 70s by any means. It's a decent song, but not a staple. I couldn't find any demo versions of this, of anything. I did find a few live versions, but they were later on. And I don't know of any, through my research, commercials, film, or TV this has been part of. So
no,
definitely a deep cut. But Tyler, after listening to 10 Years After, Positive Vibrations 2 times in a row, with the purpose of giving your thoughts on it, which is kind of what this is about in a lot of ways. We're trying to introduce you to the Beatles on our Beatles episodes. We're trying to introduce you to other music, but we do a lot of popular songs you couldn't have lived on this earth without hearing. So a lot of them, but it's good when we run into these like this every once in a while. What are your thoughts on Positive Vibrations?
I really like this one. This one, so the band, like going into it, I wasn't sure I even was familiar with the band. And then when you mentioned I'd Love to Change the World, okay, I'm familiar with the band. But definitely not this one, and definitely not this sound. This is a different sound than we get. This is a mellow, upbeat sound. I wouldn't call it blues. I'd call it more jazzy rock. It's real smooth and mellow. The song itself, it starts off right with the vocals. he's got a good voice. It's not hard on the ears. It's a real smooth and mellow voice, and he sings it along with the tune just very well. He's a very competent singer. I enjoyed it. It was easy on the ears. The lyrics wise, I started off with the quote of the first verse: "In the night when you roam with the one you call your own, ask yourself if you're doing good. Give yourself some positive vibrations." I almost said good vibrations because that's the one I'm more familiar with from Beach Boys. But this is a very different song than Good Vibrations. Give yourself some positive vibrations. It is an upbeat song that's kind of encouraging to the listener that, hey, in a hippie world where everybody's trying to carve out their own interest or carve out something that makes them interesting to the rest of the world around them, it's important to just take a step back every now and again and give yourself some good vibrations. Give yourself some positive vibrations. I'm going to keep saying good vibrations, but yeah, it's positive. Keep sending yourself some positive vibrations, and remember that you're doing good, that it's not so bad, that he talks about there's too much wanderers that are wandering, too much ponderers that are pondering, too many squanderers are squandering.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's one of my favorite parts of this song is there's not a lot of lyrics to this song, but they are very positive, and it's nothing like Good Vibrations, like you said, but the overall theme of it is, I mean, it's a very positive song, and it's kind of an interesting song from this band just simply because of, you go back to their most popular song, I'd Love to Change the World. You know, at that time, he doesn't like anything and he wants to change everything. And now he's just looking at positive vibrations. So you can see the change on this band just as the times were changing, honestly.
So you got the hippie movement of the late 60s that's bleeding over into the 70s. And a lot of the hippie movement was wrapped up in that wandering and pondering and squandering, in people that were out there in search of adventure, in search of some sort of knowledge, some sort of fundamental or a profound truth. And they did this physically, you know, traveling around, hitchhiking and seeing the world. But they also did it in their minds with meditation and pondering, and they tried to come up with some sort of truth that sounded really cool and really profound to other people that they could impress other people with their mind. And then you had people who were squandering, who were just laying around getting high and, you know, just watching the world fly by and squandering any time that they had, squandering any opportunities that might have come by.
I kind of think that's why the era died, because I think the initial thought of it was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're all going to be one. We're all going to love each other. But I think when it really come down to it, it come down to a bunch of lazy drug addicts.
Yeah.
I mean, a big portion of them anyways.
Well, those lazy drug addicts certainly latch on to people who just want to put some plants into the earth and watch them grow. You got a bunch of hippie drug addicts that are just sitting around being high all the time. Doing most of the eating because, hey, marijuana gives you the munchies. Somebody's got to do the work sooner or later. I guess it's that kind of call to action to not be so focused on trying to make something profound out of yourself, but just to rather be pleased with yourself as you are and with what you're doing. And, you know, don't lie around being lazy, but at the same time, don't sit there and, you know, try to be some sort of something that you're not. It's more just be actively involved in doing something and go somewhere, see some things, and experience the world around you, experience life, and be happy. Send yourself some positive vibrations. That be satisfied with what you have. You know, make the world a little bit better place. I love the message of this song. Music-wise, this song, okay, I wrote this down so that you've got that singer who's really mellow and soothing with his voice. But then you've got the guitar. It's the one piece that's chomping at the bit to get rocking out. This guitar is just really trying to become a heavy hard rock song. And the rest of it, the bass is holding down this smooth rolling roller coaster. And it's backed up with the drums. They're holding steady and holding back a little bit. But then the guitar gets going and the drums kind of pick up a little bit and they want to as well. And then you get the piano. And the piano or the keyboard in this, it's egging that guitar on. So like you get these like key changes or these key breaks. and it goes doon doon doon, and it's just trying to drive the guitar all the more to be a fast rock song, but really it's just trying to be a really smooth, mellow, positive vibration song. That's the best word for it, is what the title of the song is. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. This song was a real treat. I'm glad to get these deep cuts every now and again. So for my first time around, the song it runs just over 4 minutes. Seems a lot longer. It seemed to me like
we did listen to it twice.
It did. We did, but each time I was like, man, it's still going. And it's there's a little bit of repetition in it, but not a lot. It seems like it feels a little bit longer than it is. Maybe it feels like a 5-6 minute song, but no, it just keeps going. What are your thoughts on this one, Justin?
I would say this isn't even in my top 10 years after songs, and I'm a pretty big 10 years after fan. I certainly like Cricklewood Green, Space and Time, of course. Watt is good. There's a couple other albums that I listen to quite frequently. This isn't a bad song. It's not what I'm going to skip if it comes on and say, damn, I hate that song, but I wouldn't say it's a song I absolutely love either. It's just way outside what I consider 10 years after. So it's a decent song. I mean, it's got good guitar work in it. I like the little guitar licks. Like you said, they're trying to make their way through. After all the verse lines, there's little answers to that Alvin Lee does, and I like those. It's a slow, steady song, but you can tell that the production's a higher value than their other stuff, and you can tell they're trying to be more commercial, trying to get a pop song out of it. And what's funny about that is them trying ended up being one of their weakest showings for singles. So it's unfortunate that the vocal's decent on it. It sounds like it's got some kind of effect on it, maybe doubled or something, but that's in the production as well. It's got a really good guitar solo, but other than that, it's just an okay song. I don't mind it when it comes on. I've known the song for years. I wouldn't call it one of my favorites. I wouldn't call it a song I dislike, just a decent song. You want to get the rating?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
Okay, listener, if this is your first episode, I will briefly explain our rating scale. It's 0 to 10, 10 being the best. I put this one up pretty high. Put this one up there at an 8, and I'm not going to adjust that. I think that it's a strong song. I like the message of it, in spite of the whole fight back and forth between the guitar that's trying to make this a more fast-paced song than it is, and the rest of the elements of this song trying to hold it back. I really like this song. I thought it sounded great. Sorry to hear that it didn't do better back in the time. Here it is, 50 years on, and I'm still enjoying it. So yeah, I think it deserves an 8. Where do you put this one, Justin?
I know you'd like this song because obviously you're a lyric guy, and anything positive you seem to like. You don't like anything that's downtrodden or truthful.
True.
I guess that's a way to put it. But
yeah,
it's an okay song. I don't dislike it, but I can't rate this one as high as you. I rate this one a 6.5. So decent song, but not one I'm going to seek out that often. So Trent in Goodyear, Arizona, thank you for your suggestion. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, want to tell us what you think of our rating, or want to tell us what your rating is, or have any songs or albums you'd like us to rate, send them to classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, we really appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. So until next week, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Thank you.